College students are still not returning to classes virtually or in person at their pre-pandemic levels. National data shows college enrollment fell another 2.7% in the fall of 2021. It's a bit larger than the previous fall when institutions saw a 2.5% drop. Joining us now with more are Michelle Brown, Director of Admission and Enrollment at Oakton Community College, Anish Sahoni, CEO of 1 Million Degrees, a nonprofit aimed at helping Chicago area low-income students graduate from community college, and Oscar Rodriguez, Associate Vice Provost at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Thanks to the three of you for joining us. So, Michelle, let's start with you, please. We know that Oakton has seen a decline in enrollment since 2019 from 7,600 in 2019 to 6,200 in the year 2021. And this is a national trend as well, with community colleges having been specifically hit hard. Public two-year colleges at 1.4% in 2019. That was a decline that year. Down 10% in the year 2020. And last year, 2021, down 3.4%. Michelle, to what do you attribute all of this?
Thank you for the question. Yes, Oakton's enrollment in recent years has been declining, although it is in line with the national trends for community colleges. Our population in Illinois, especially amongst younger people, is declining, and that is impacting us with fewer students to serve. Some of our challenges are the students have stopped out because of the pandemic, and the pandemic has impacted their personal lives with children, child care, elder family care, financial impacts that have impacted their ability to return to school or continue their education.
And Anish, of course, 1 Million Degrees, you all work with community college students to help them persist and complete community college. What are some of the needs of the students that you work with?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing we've learned in doing this work is that you really need to wrap your arms around the student and really provide that community of support that students need. So for the scholars that we work with, we provide this relationship-based support to really help students navigate their academic and personal journeys. We provide financial support to really support students with any needs that might emerge, academic tutoring to really ensure that they're getting the extra support they might need to stay on track with their classes. And then we also provide a professional network of people in the field of interest that they might be going down or another sector where they can really learn what it's like to both be in college, but also be in the workforce. And I think the biggest takeaway we have is the wraparound and ecosystem supports that we're able to provide have always been necessary for our students, but especially in the last 2 years during the pandemic, that community has been more important than ever.
Now, Oscar, it's a bit different for you all at UIC. You've actually seen an increase in enrollment with over 33,000 in 2019 up to over 34,000 this year. To what do you attribute this increase?
We've been fortunate. A handful of years ago, we had decided we rethought how we were going to approach admissions and recruitment at UIC, and that, and combined with the location here in Chicago, has simply been a benefit to us. For us, location with the academic reputation that the institution has, and then students being able to choose whether or not they're going to live on campus, live in the community, or perhaps live at home with their parents, has provided us a great deal of flexibility in terms of the kinds of students that we can attract to campus. So, you put together sort of that top tier sort of research institution with the academic reputation, and trying to reach students where they're at and trying to share with them who and what we are has been pretty successful for us at UIC.
And Michelle Brown, how has Oakton had to adapt programs and classes during the pandemic?
Thanks for asking. At Oakton, we've continued to add new programs to respond to the local workforce needs. An example of some of the new programs include things like our sterile processing technician, our cannabis cultivation program, which is the first in Illinois, our modern manufacturing program, and our import-export specialist program, which is addressing the supply chain issues. We also help students by offering technology loan programs to support their remote learning with Wi-Fi and hotspots and Chromebooks. We have also given financial support to students. We have a free credit hour initiative we've given students in the fall and are continuing to offer in the spring to help them with their tuition. And we've received federal stimulus funds that we've passed on to students, awarding over $4.6 million for students to help pay for educational costs and expenses.
And Michelle, has the lowered enrollment itself, has that had any impact on the programming that you're able to offer?
The lower enrollment is impacting our students, but we do expect that many will return to their same levels of academic in-classroom participation once we return to the pre-pandemic levels of in-person learning. We have heard from our students that they do not prefer the online learning. They do want to return to the classroom, and so we're looking forward to having them return, and are actually going to have some great opportunities for students to still enroll in Oakton classes this semester, with some late start classes offered throughout the semester and opportunities for students to still register, apply, and get enrolled in those classes.
And Anish, you talked about, of course, like the kind of support that you all are able to provide to community college students, but how have you seen the pandemic impact community college students? How has it changed their educational careers?
Yeah, I think the key has been for us, at least in working with our students, to really listen and understand their needs, and then to be flexible and responsive to what we're hearing. So one thing we know for sure is that there is no kind of one common need for any of our students. And so being frequently in touch with our students via text messaging and really checking in on them to see what might be going on for them has been important. Second, you mentioned the importance of thinking about the pandemic context. Needs for groceries and resources for medical care and housing have continued to be a high priority for our students. And so we've been really focused on providing emergency grants and supports to provide the holistic need of supports that our students might have as well. And equally as important, I think, cutting down some of the processes that are oftentimes required to get access to funding, and really saying, we know you have the need, let's get the resources to you as quickly as possible. And then similar to Michelle, I think one of the things we're realizing is there's a lot you can do to support students in a virtual environment, especially on some of the one-on-one communications. And we've been able to have more frequent touch points as a result. But what's harder is to build that community virtually as well. And so while we're figuring out what this looks like as we move forward in the pandemic, we know that building community and having some of those in-person touch points, we need to get back to that, because that's a critical part of our students being able to engage with their peers and others and feel like they're really at home at school.
And to that end, we just heard Michelle say that students are saying they do not enjoy the online virtual learning as much and don't feel like they're benefiting as much. Oscar, what do you think all of these trends say about, the value of online learning, particularly at the college level?
I think it's interesting in that I think those of us in higher education have been perhaps a little bit lax in trying to share what our value proposition is with families, and it's a bit of a challenge, right? For many years, we spent all this time trying to build up campus and campus community and the value of being in person in these spaces in order to help draw students. And when we were faced with a pandemic where we were all forced to move online, we found that all that marketing and all those conversations we were having with families about the benefits of being on our campuses with our faculty, with those other students, it perhaps came back to hurt us a bit, right? Yeah. We haven't quite gotten back to getting to what the fundamentals of what a higher education is supposed to be.
And it's difficult it's difficult to make it work the same way you would on campus. That's where we'll have to leave it, though. My thanks to Michelle Brown, Anish Sohoni, and Oscar Rodriguez for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.